All right, everybody, before we start this episode, I just want to dedicate it to Oozlebear or Judge Gabranth on the forum or Twitch feed. Yeah, thanks for your donation to Patreon, and enjoy the episode, guys.
Actually, I think he donated through PayPal.
He's donating through Patreon, too.
Oh, is he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you for that, too.
But yeah, mostly the PayPal, he's right.
That was, we're very thankful for that, and our new website is also dedicated to you and all the other Patreon donors who helped out.
Yeah, thanks to you guys, and enjoy.
Thank you so much.
You're going to have to forgive our ignorance for a few missteps, let's say. We got a few of the characters mixed up. I know, we did this before, but Daisley, I've been calling him Bartandalus, I've been calling him Barty.
We got Daisley mixed up with Sid.
And
then we're confused because we knew who Sid was before, and then we're like, then how did Sid come back? I thought he was Daisley.
Right, yeah, we totally forgot about that scene.
No, Daisley is Bartandalus.
Yeah.
Who's the big head honcho guy. And then Sid is the other big head honcho guy that turns to crystal midway through. He's like a Seath crystal thing.
Yeah.
But then a piece of plot that we totally missed was that Bartandalus brought back Sid. And that's how Sid is then like the head of state and gets shot at the end.
So we were right about remembering Sid as being the head of state, but then we were like, how the fuck is he the head of state? Because he was turned to crystal.
So we were confused that like maybe the other character we were thinking of was someone else. So you're going to hear us stumble all over the place. Anyway, Daisley is Bartandalus, and then Sid is Sid, only Daisley / Bartandalus brings back Sid. So that name mix-up is all over there. And then we say Reigns a lot because the characters refer to Sid as Reigns a lot because it's Sid Reigns. And then I'm thinking at some point in this episode that Reigns is the long-haired dude
that shoots
Sid. And what's the name of that guy that's never mentioned in the whole fucking game?
Rydgea or something like that. That's his name. Rydgea.
Ridgia or something.
Ridgia, yeah. I don't remember him being mentioned, but he's just there. So
he's there and he's important. But he's never mentioned. So yeah, we get all that mixed up. Anyway, just forgive us for that.
Part 2 is amazing.
Yeah, we don't want that Fusoya, what's his name, mix up again.
Yeah.
Tella and Fusoya. That was a problem before.
We don't want that ever again now.
So we want you to know it was a mistake. And we're sorry for it. And anyway, just look past it if you can.
And enjoy the episode.
Yes.
From Provo, Utah, this is the ultimate Final Fantasy podcast with your hosts, Joseph DeGolier and Caleb Schweitz. This is Ultima Final Fantasy.
Welcome to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the ultimate
13
Final Fantasy
13
podcast.
We're done.
Yes.
Oh.
I am your host, Caleb.
I am your other host, Joe.
And yes, we are done with Final Fantasy XIII.
We're done. We took it and we did it.
Oh, yes.
Right?
We did the shit out of it. I did anyway. Yeah. You just did it normally.
Yeah, I just, know.
Yeah, I
didn't have as much stamina as you.
Yeah.
When it came to doing 13.
Of course. I mean, I put a lot of work in, so,
Oh, yeah.
It's not something you just have.
Oh, it took us 2 months.
Yes.
2 months in like 1 week, right?
No, 2 months.
Just 2 months?
Like 2 days. Yeah.
Okay. How many hours, Caleb? How many minutes? How many seconds?
Well, actually, I think my final save was 110 hours and 5 minutes. I think it was around there. What about you? What was yours?
I think I was like 38 hours.
I think you were further than that, weren't you?
No.
Yeah, you must have sucked.
I remember. No, not 38. I was. No, because didn't you beat the game for the first time at 38 and then you reboot it?
No.
Because I was a few hours less than you to get there.
I beat it at 45.
You beat it at 45?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I was in the high 30s.
Hey, it might have been, I guess.
Yeah.
That means I got the last time you played the game.
Then I got 5 stars on the last guy.
Yeah. Didn't you say it took you like 60 hours last time?
Yeah, last time it did take me. It took me 62 hours to beat that game.
Or are you fucking retarded?
No, it's not that. I didn't.
Because you didn't do any side stuff this time
I
either.
did side stuff then.
Oh, I thought you said you didn't.
No, I did like 30 hunts or something.
No, only 30? Just kidding.
Shut up, dude.
Out of 64, I mean. Yeah, no, for some reason.
That was the first time I played this game back in 2009. No, 2009. I got the game when it came out and I played it.
Yeah, it came out in 2010.
It came out in 2009.
No, it didn't. It came out in 2009 in December in Japan and 2010 in North
March?
America. Yes.
Oh, okay. It must have been 2010.
Unless you had a Japanese copy. That's why it took you so long.
No.
Yeah. I like it, but I don't understand.
Copy. Unfortunately.
Yeah. That would be nice to get released a Final Fantasy.
It would be, but it's probably not going to happen unless 15 shows us something else.
Yeah, or unless 15 shows us, multi-country release, worldwide release one day.
Wow.
That would be nice. They've talked about it, but they've talked about a lot of shit.
Man, it feels like we're so rusty. We haven't done a review in so long.
Yeah, do you feel rusty?
I do feel rusty.
I feel fine.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you feel fine.
Yeah, maybe you should throw on some WD-40 and get ready.
Well, here's what we need to do. We need to tell people who only listen to the review episodes of this show that we do have another show.
Yeah.
It's called Ultimate Final Fantasy. It's weekly. We talk about a whole bunch of Final Fantasy stuff. You can join our forums and ask us questions, and we just pick a random topic for Final Fantasy and we talk about it, all right? And we talk about news and all this other stuff. You can go to ultimatefinalfantasy.com to find out more. Follow us on Twitter at UFF Podcast, youtube.com/ultimatefinalfantasy, twitch.tv/ultimatefinalfantasy, where we do the episodes live, usually around noon Mountain Standard Time. And please join us at ultimatefinalfantasy.com.
It's good stuff. We, with the Patreon money, as we've said multiple times, we set up a new website, and it's got the forums on site, so you don't have to click here for forums or anything anymore. Yeah. And it's pretty nice. I like the layout a lot more.
Mm-hmm. So join the forums.
Yeah. Plus, Pro
at
Boards.
ultimatefinalfantasy.com.
Yeah, no .boards.net bullshit anymore. Also, it doesn't make me feel bad about using my ad block. The other one does. It's like, keep in mind that this is free because of ads. And I'm like, keep in mind that this is totally my forum. But, yeah. So, yeah. Are you
ready to talk about development?
Yeah, let's talk about some development.
Yeah. Let's do that.
All right, so as we know, Final Fantasy XIII is the beginning of the Fabula Nova Crystallis collection of Final Fantasy games.
And what is the Fabula Nova Crystallis?
It is Final Fantasy XIII and its cohorts and Type 0. And 15 was supposed to be in that same universe, but I don't think it is anymore.
I think it still is.
Really?
Yeah.
What they've been talking about?
Because it was Final Fantasy versus 13, then they changed it to 15. They said they're going to be this. It's still going to be the same mythology. It's still the Fal'Cie and whatever, but they're not going to call them Fal'Cie.
Oh, okay. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I remember us talking about it, but I can't remember what
that's what it
they
was.
had determined.
So we'll see how they're connected.
Basically, it's just one big Final Fantasy universe, kind of like...
and the stories are not necessarily connected.
Yeah, it's just, same...
So there was really no point in the whole Fabula Nova Crystallis thing.
Yeah, I mean, because 13.2 and 13.3 are naturally connected to 13, or else they wouldn't be called 13.2 and 3.
Yeah, but Type 0 and 13?
Yeah, that one I can see. That's probably why they created it. So, it was the first game that Square used their internally developed Crystal Tools game engine. Apparently, this was to further unify the game's development and bring the originally PS3 exclusive to the Xbox 360 and Wii consoles.
Betrayal.
Yeah, and this system, well, not really. 11 was on 360.
That's true, it was. You're right.
But it was
on PC also. It was
true, yeah. So it was initially, they created this because
It's been mostly
of
Sony exclusive since Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they liked Nintendo, but the
Yeah.
cartridge thing was not a step in the direction they wanted to be in.
And I'm glad because I would not want to play these games on the Wii.
No.
And they would look like crap.
Yeah, it'd be standard def.
I'm so glad that they went with Sony.
Yeah. So they initially conceived this idea of the crystal tools based on the success of the Final Fantasy VII tech demo that they released, which also spurred them to bring the game to the PS3 rather than the originally planned release on PlayStation 2.
I do remember that there are like a couple screenshots out there from the original Final Fantasy XIII on PS2. Have you seen those things?
I have not.
They're not like fully rendered. They're cel shaded, and they showed up in some magazine in Japan. And you can see them, like you can see the Lightning character. She's just like a blonde cel shaded thing for PS2.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
It is really interesting. Do you remember that tech demo?
Yes, I do.
And the controversy that it caused?
Yes, I remember that as well.
It was for those who don't know for some reason. It was the PlayStation 3 tech demo with the Final Fantasy VII opening scene. Mm-hmm. And everybody thought that this meant remake. Now, we actually do have a remake coming.
Yes.
But that kind of spurred the whole Square Enix, please give us a remake. And then Square Enix saying, no, it was just a tech demo. And
was it though?
They keep doing that. Do you need that to be zoomed in more? The
no,
screen?
I'm fine.
Okay, are you sure?
Yeah.
All right.
So, upon release, the game received mostly positive reviews from game publications, praising the graphics, which are amazing, presentation, and battle system. The story kind of received mixed reviews, and the linearity was the big thing that everyone hated of Final Fantasy XIII, especially when compared to the rest of the series, or even just the one right before it that is not linear at all in the slightest fashion with 12. But
it's linear a little bit. We'll talk about it.
You can go.
I am sure we'll discuss the linearity of this game later.
We'll touch it. So,
we'll touch it.
Jesus, man, I'm going to have to file a complaint. So development for Final Fantasy XIII began in 2004, and this is just after the release of the Final Fantasy X-2 International and Last Mission in Japan.
Fucking... Yeah. How about the longest title in the world?
Yeah, no kidding. That's what I was thinking when I typed that up. I was like, Jesus. Was that like the whole front cover of the game? Just title? There's no picture? So the director was Motomu Toriyama, and of course... Nojima is part of that too. And they were both basically the ones who conceived the ideas for the story's plot line over the first year or so. And Nomura actually thought up the crystal mythology that is the basis of the series, and the roles of the Fal'Cie and the Luscie, which I understand now, finally, playing this game a second time. Toriyama then created...
Yeah, it's kind of glossed over during the game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we'll talk about that story.
Toriyama created the story around the mythology. His goal was to kind of show that the characters were at the mercy of a predetermined and unjust fate. And he wanted to create a group who belonged together, but heavily clashed. And to go about this, they designed each of the story's 13 chapters to focus on different members of the party, which I feel like they stuck to for... quite a bit of it, or at least pairs of the party, not really different members.
Yeah, they kind of stuck to it until
like 8.
Chapter 10, I think.
Okay. So yeah, the whole structure of this narrative that they had created started to really come together in 2006 when Daisuke Watanabe, which looks like Watanabe to me every time, joined the team. As you may recall, he filled in for Matsuno, who left the Final Fantasy XII development team due to sickness.
In quotes.
Yes.
No, yeah, he was... I think he still claims he was sick.
Yeah. So Watanabe was given a rough outline of the first 8 chapters, including necessary scenes that had to stay that he couldn't alter, and was told to strengthen Toriyama's script. An example of what this entailed is... he would get like a document that said Snow and Hope reconcile, and he would then have to decide how the scene would play out and write his scenarios accordingly. So
that's all they have is like a rough outline, and he's like, oh,
yeah, that's like something you come up with when you have an idea and you're like, okay, this, and then basically this guy was given that and made it all come together. So initially, he had to do some adjusting for the characters. Initially, Lightning was supposed to be a reliable and calm leader, and to kind of follow the realistic mindset of what you would be in this sort of setting, he created, the volatile, really pissy Lightning that we all know. Because, I mean, it didn't make sense to him to have someone that's super calm and got their shit together after they've just been, branded as an enemy of the state, essentially.
She's pretty
and their sister, and she's pretty mad, not level-headed at all. And like I said, it was just to capture the unease that the characters would feel in that particular situation. And he was also responsible for the Saw's suicide scene, quote unquote. And
spoiler.
Yeah, Toriyama actually felt that was
he's dead,
a little bit too dark.
Oh.
So they threw in stuff like the Chocobo chick to kind of remain a little more even on the dark to light ratio within the game.
Chocobo chick
in his hair.
Chocobo chick in his hair.
Yeah,
okay.
the Chocobo chick.
Chocobo chick.
not chick like woman, like chick.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Jesus, Joe. So the developers of 13 were divided into multiple teams, and this is where it's a little bit different, where each team would be assigned with a specific area of the game, such as a character or an area in the world that they would design, and they're kind of separated in that way. Whereas for a lot of the other games, they were all working closely together.
Right, they were the people who worked on the field maps, and
if not one person for some of the older ones, but obviously that's out of the question now. And many of the staff, they've been working on these games for a long time, and the director Toriyama worked on 10 and 10-2, and Kitase, we know him from 5 through 8 and pretty much everything awesome. And Nomura was also back as the main character designer. And since 13 was the first Final Fantasy game for the PS3, the crew wanted the game to have the same impact that 7 and 10 had upon their release, which...
Well, wouldn't they want that for every single game that comes out?
Well, yeah, they would, but I don't know. They kind of like to set the standard with their first time on the console games. Mm-hmm. So their sales goal initially was to hit 5 million copies sold, and Toriyama wanted the game to be the ultimate single-player RPG.
Wow, I just didn't know Skyrim was coming, did they?
No. To destroy. So, I mean, although I can't say that 13 is the ultimate single-player RPG, it did meet and exceed their sales goals. As of right now, Final Fantasy XIII has sold roughly 6.7 million copies between the PS3 and the 360 last time I saw sales numbers. And it was actually the fastest game in the franchise and sold 1.7 million in Japan. Just dropped it right away.
Oh.
So it's the fastest selling
and the fourth biggest game?
Yeah, the fourth biggest selling in the series as well. But the budget was pretty heavy for this one. I know we talked about 12s being kind of big, and it was at was it like 50 million, something like that, 52?
I can't remember now.
Yeah, but this one's actually number 22 on the most expensive games to make list, and this one costs $65+ million to make. Yeah, no, it's no 7, but it's still
cheap.
Pricey.
That ain't cheap. Not for a video game.
No,
Jesus.
that's a lot.
Man, video game development costs are going way up.
It's true. They're very big.
Okay.
So 13, as we know, was released in December 2009 in Japan and March 2010.
I've said 2009 my entire life. You can go through this. You can go through every single episode of this podcast, and every time I talk about Final Fantasy XIII being released,
you say 09.
I always say 09, so I am sorry. Caleb has reminded me that it was in fact 2010.
Yep. So the game, as we know, includes a very quick-paced battle system and an upgrading system that's pretty similar to the Sphere Grid from Final Fantasy X, called the Crystallarium. Players also customize paradigms, which are sort of like a class setup for the 3-person parties, and the outcome of any battle in this game heavily relies on the player staggering their opponents, which is finding out a way to weaken them and get their...
it's basically doing an armor break on them.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. Just screwing them over as quickly as you possibly can. So the character, you play a third-person view of anyone you want. That essentially you can choose the main character of the game. I mean, obviously it's Lightning, but you can change the party around a bit and play as Vanille or whatever. And you get like a nice 360-degree camera movement of that, see the beautiful world that they've created for us. And it's relatively scaled in this game. Now, Final Fantasies have passed 7, 8, 6, pretty much all of them, except for 12 and 13, the scale is wonky in it. Like you're a big dude on the world map, and the world map is just tiny in comparison to the actual world.
Sure, I get what you're saying there.
13, everything's relative, so it feels a little more real, I would say.
It also takes forever to get from one side of Pulse to the other.
It does. It's huge.
At least that part is huge.
Yeah, there's also a bestiary like they had in 12 and some of the earlier entries, and the one thing that's very different about 13, at least I noticed, was the weapon upgrading. You can just throw items into your weapons and you can upgrade them to different tiers and they become way more damaging. And I thought that was really cool. Like I could use the first sword I ever got the whole game. I don't have to change over swords, and that's...
There was kind of weapon upgrading in 8. And
yeah, there was a little bit.
7, you could add materia to the weapons.
Well, materia normally... Well, it can downgrade your stats.
You can add stats to, or you can add abilities to Final Fantasy X weapons. So it's just a different way of doing other things.
Yeah, it is a different style. But 8's, you don't worry about that. You don't need that in 8. Come on. Did you upgrade anything in that game this last time?
Final Fantasy VIII?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't touch the upgrades.
Oh.
I was like, I don't have time for this shit. You kidding me? I'm killing everything in like 3 hits anyway. But yeah, so I thought that was kind of an interesting style. And of course, there's no weapons and no shops in this, or no weapon shops or anything in this game, which is super weird.
Well, there is.
It's the save point. But the reason why they didn't do that, and I didn't throw this in the review, but they weren't satisfied with the graphical capabilities that they had to create that kind of a setting. So they just X'd it out of the game. They just said, no, we're not going to have
stores. They'll just be
the save point.
There'll be save points, and somehow they'll digitally make a weapon for you and then project it onto your open hands, and it will become real.
Yes.
That's how I see it working.
Yeah, that's basically how it would have to work. So yeah, due to hardware limitations or whatever, they decided
there
to
ain't
go
no
against
hardware or software limitations in the world of Final Fantasy, if that in fact is how it works.
That's true. They've got their shit down.
Holy shit.
So this part I thought was really interesting. Apparently the Final Fantasy XIII Ultimate Hits International version of the game, released in Japan, has an easy mode, which I find interesting because they're always talking about the games. They're being concerned. We got a normal and a hard
mode on it, but no easy.
Yeah. They're always... Wasn't there something released a little while back where they were concerned about how difficult their games would be to us?
It was a while back. It was Final Fantasy IV. So the version that we got, I think, was like the easy mode version.
Yeah, and they were concerned about us. But this happened.
They were concerned that the Americans couldn't play it.
And then the Final Fantasy XV demo thing, Japan thought it was too difficult, and we thought it was too easy.
Yeah.
You guys got it all wrong.
Yeah, Japan. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, that was with Final Fantasy IV.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the battle system, it's pretty similar to 12 in a few ways. Most noticeably is the way the character, you can kind of approach enemies or avoid them in the field of the game, the world map, which I think is amazing. I love that. It feels real. It feels right. So when your player comes into contact with an enemy, the screen transitions from the map into a battle screen that we know intimately at this point, because the rest of the series has this kind of a random encounter thing, except for this time you see them and can sometimes avoid. Other times they're standing right in the tiny little path that you have to walk, and you don't have a choice in the world but to fight them. But, So the part where this game really differs from basically any other game in the series, to me, the biggest thing I noticed is the secondary characters. You don't ever control them. You only control the party leader, and the 2 other characters are controlled by the game's AI, which, of course...
It makes the game harder.
It can, yeah, because when your main character dies, it's game over. You have to restart the battle. And as we talked about in our automation in Final Fantasy episode, there is the auto battle function within this game, where basically instead of choosing from your list of abilities that gets longer and longer all the time, you can just hit auto battle and it'll cast whatever it thinks is the best thing to cast at this time.
Right. And you know what's kind of cool about that? I know a lot of people hate this system, but what's kind of cool about that is if the characters, if they come across an enemy that they don't know and it's an elemental enemy, say that, it could possibly, like something with lightning powers or whatever, they will cast like a whole bunch of different elements of magic. Some of it will cure them, and then the character knows automatically that they shouldn't be casting that on them, and so they switch it to, you know, water or something.
Right.
Yeah. Which is kind of a cool thing. Like, you would think that the characters would be smart enough to not use that at that point, not use a certain spell at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing about the game is that everyone gets healed after you complete a battle. Yeah, there's no healing in between fighting like there was in 12 or 11 with the /H sitting there for like a year healing up.
Oh, man. Don't remind me that we will be reviewing the sequels to 11 soon.
Yeah, the add-ons.
Yeah.
But, you know, this all makes the game seem like it's going to be easy. You know, you don't have to heal in between battles. You've got a retry button after you get a game over, or even before that. If you know you're doing bad in a fight, hit start, hit select, and retry the fight. Easy enough. Makes the game sound easy. But if that's how it sounds,
it's not fucking easy.
You're wrong.
It is not an easy game.
This shit is tough.
Holy fuck.
I got a lot of game overs in this game. I had like 6 in 12, and they were all traumatic and devastating, right? But this thing was something else. 100 at least. Probably more. Probably 200. Counting post-game grinding stuff, which, you know, you die a lot when the guys have millions of HP. But, yeah, so it's very quick, very deadly style of play.
It's extremely quick.
Yeah.
And there's like a certain way that you have to kill each guy, and figuring that out sometimes takes a few tries. And,
right. Right, so that's...
such a quick system, too, that you have to just be on your toes the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, you don't want to be in the ability screen doing dook, dook, dook while you're getting wailed at.
True. There's some times where you need to.
They decided that speed was the utmost priority in Final Fantasy XIII's battle system, so...
Well, after 9,
that's what we get.
I agree how slow that one was.
But we'll talk about that more in the game section.
So, as we mentioned, every enemy has a chain counter, or the stagger bar that we usually refer to it as. So this counter kind of starts at 100, and they have different ways. You have different ways of going about bringing that up to whatever it is they stagger at. Sometimes it's 200, sometimes it's 900 for the sick bastards. And it'll reset quickly, especially if you just hit them with magic attacks. Now, magic normally bumps it up pretty high, but then the stagger bar resets and goes back to 0 really quick. So you have to kind of...
You have to balance it.
Yeah, you have to balance it with...
Unless your characters are fast enough, which they are, but about halfway through the game.
Yeah, and then you can do it.
Yeah.
But it's still better to kind of throw in some saboteur moves, which are debuffs, and then some physical attacks that stop the bar. And this is where the paradigms really come into play. You kind of switch, you set these up pre-battle, and there are 6 different classes. And it's Commando for physical attacks, Ravager for all the black magic, Medic for your healing, your raising spells. Saboteur is the debuffing, the deprotect, the de-shell, slow, all of that good stuff. Sentinel, obviously, a very high defensive party. If you have 3 Sentinels, you're not going to take very much damage at all. And then the Synergist, which is the buffing party. And those basically...
Thank God for you, Synergist.
Yes, it's very difficult to play the game without it, as I found. Yeah, those guys cast haste, protect, yada yada, all the goodies. And this game, like we've said, the classes can, and in many cases, have to be quickly changed throughout the battles if you're going to survive, especially on a lot of the boss fights. I mean, if you don't go into a Sentinel class and draw the aggro, so to speak, off of the boss, your guys are going to get slaughtered.
Minions.
Quick. Yes. Yes, so, it's a refreshingly... Due to all of this change, it leads to a very refreshingly fast battle system in Final Fantasy XIII.
It's not that 12's was slow.
No, it's not slow, but this is just really fast. And 12, I can go through the earlier areas and I can just slaughter everything in one hit.
Now, there were some frustrations later on in 12 where I'm like, oh, Jesus, don't stop. Just keep going. Just walk.
Yeah.
And in 13, you don't have the same problems that way.
Yeah, it's true. There are differences for sure between the two. But and then another interesting thing, as always, they brought back the summons for this game, and they kind of did something a little bit more throwbacky than 12. Every character has a specific Eidolon, that they call them in this game, that you can summon in battle. And only the party leader can select this skill, and any other skill that's exclusive to that party member. The secondary guys won't just randomly throw Odin out or throw, Army of One or whatever the hell their ability is. You have to do it. And these, they're interesting, but we'll talk more about them later. But basically, they have a regular mode where they kind of fight next to you, and then they have a mode where they turn into a vehicle, and you ride them around during the duration of the fight.
Oh, yeah.
And
ride that baby.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I don't know.
It's a bit.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of an expensive game to make, but it exceeded what they wanted, so they definitely made money on it.
And then they kept making sequels, and the sequels did not do as well.
Not quite. It is just about half of each
successive
entry.
one.
Yeah. So it's like, what do we say, 7 for this one. It's 3.4, I think, for the Lightning, or for 13.2, and then Lightning Returns is, I think it's like 1.6, just about half. Yeah, that's like, ooh. I don't even know if they made money on that, but I don't know. I think it's about time we talked about some story, though.
Yeah, let's go through the story. Okay, well, this is, unbeknownst to our podcast listeners, this is our second run through the story.
Second, quote unquote.
Yeah, second. The first time we figured out that we needed a little refresher, so we had to go back. And unfortunately, our Twitch audience got to see us stumble across ourselves. So
yeah, it was pretty bad.
If you want to see us in a truly
raw,
embarrassing, in truly embarrassing form, please, watch our Twitch stream.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this game's story does happen in the first little while, and the first little while
we haven't been
quite a while.
First little while for a while.
Yeah, while.
It's not only that, but it's also extremely dense. I think there's 8 hours of cutscenes in this game, which is less than Final Fantasy X's, but it is much less spread out.
That's true. Yeah,
throughout the game.
A ton in the first little while.
With Final Fantasy XIII, I would say the first 10 to 15 hours, I think, pretty solidly cutscene throughout.
Yeah. It's like do a little objective, get a cutscene. What was you said you saw like a formula to the game.
There's a formula to the cutscenes, which we'll talk about after we get through this story.
Oh, okay. But there's a lot of it for sure.
There's tons of it. So me and Caleb had to sit down and we had to write down an outline of the story itself, so that we could tell
the damn thing.
Yeah, so we could tell you guys, what happens, especially you guys who didn't play 13. The first thing that we start off with is the train and the purge that's happening, and Lightning is there, and she gets out of all these the weird kind of robe chain things that they're in.
Yeah,
she gets out and she makes the train go haywire, and the train she stops the train, and at the same time Nora is fighting an army Nora, which is a resistance group, is fighting the government. They're fighting the SciComm, which is the army of the government, the Sanctum.
Yes.
who governs Cocoon, which is this giant
floating planet
floating, yeah,
above a planet.
the floating continent, or the
Yes.
floating planet, or the moon.
The moon, yeah, it's probably more the moon, yeah.
Of Pulse,
Fucking moon.
which is the planet below. But all the people, they all live in Cocoon. They all live in fear of Pulse.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone is branded a Lassie, which Lightning Sister has been branded a Lassie, they get shipped off.
Right, and in this current crazy state of Cocoon, they're shipping off anybody that's even been anywhere near this person, because that's what they were talking
Well,
about.
it's not only
with,
near this person, but the reason why there's been so many Lassie or whatever is because this one big Fal'Cie, which is a being, it's a godlike being,
yeah,
but it's not a god, who lives along with humans.
yeah, and it just shows up and brands people, its servants. And it's this weird cross thing, and there's a really funny review that Spoonie talks about. He's like, what did it sneak up in the night? Because they're like,
huge.
there it is. Yeah. Did you not hear it coming? I mean, look at it. But yeah, so essentially it just picks and chooses people to be its servant and carry out menial tasks. It's like, well, you took out the garbage, and Crystal...
No, well,
That'd be
yeah, well,
awesome.
actually, it does kind of seem that way,
Yeah.
with the exception of course, our 6 heroes.
Thanks
here.
for doing the dishes. See you in 100 years.
So people, okay, there's Fal'Cie, and they're the godlike beings that live along with the humans. Some Fal'Cie have a purpose, like they're, I don't know, like they're supplying power or whatever, like Eden is or Sanctum is, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, they kind of nurture the humans.
Yeah, they nurture the humans, and of course we see later that I guess they view humans as pets almost,
Yeah,
which is odd.
it is freaky. Yeah.
But they await a better world for the Fal'Cie, and we'll get to that soon. Anyway, the Nora is fighting the army because they see this purge as an injustice. All these people are being sent off to this horrible unknown planet below, and
Right. I mean, the government has
stop
it in their mind that the planet below is super evil and it's uninhabitable, which we later find out isn't true. It's just brutal, and the scaling is that of the moon in FF4.
so this Fal'Cie that snuck up on the village.
It's like
in the night-
opposite of moon.
What the fuck is it? What the fuck is the name of that Fal'Cie? I forgot.
The one that they fight.
Yeah, or they try to.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I can't remember it.
We were
big
talking
guy.
about it. Well, he only shows up for that one part.
Yeah, he's only in, but he plays a pivotal role.
Yeah, sort of.
Lightning and Suz are going to make their way to the Fal'Cie. Meanwhile, the Nora rescues a group of people being shipped off, which includes Hope and Hope's mom. Now, they're fighting off the army, and then Snow, who is part of Nora, they ask for volunteers, and Hope's mom volunteers against Hope's wishes.
Yeah. But since she wears the pants and not the bratty kid, she goes anyway.
And they're attacked, and Hope's mom is killed in the hanging over a ledge.
Yeah, it's a really like Final Fantasy X right there, where he's just kind of holding on to the ledge, except for he doesn't fall. But yeah, he's holding on, or it's Snow, and he catches Hope's mom, and then mom slips, and she falls to her death. And Hope, that's the last time he sees her, is Snow failing to hold on to her and falling to her death. So obviously, since it's logical to hate him, this begins the hatred of Snow via Hope.
So Snow is suddenly distracted because the Fal'Cie that we've been talking about, that we can't remember the name of, is being escorted out, and Snow sees it and decides to go after it because he decides he's going to save Sarah, who his fiancée, as we find out. Who happens to also be Lightning's sister, another person going towards this Fal'Cie. And Hope and a girl that Hope met at this purging, Vanilla, I call her.
Yeah.
Vanille. They decide to go after Hope because Hope wants to confront Snow.
I met her at the purge.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about how you and Daddy met.
Yeah. Well, see, we were about to be killed by the genocidal government, and we just hit it off.
He's kind of he doesn't really get off on the right foot if that's the case with this. He's kinda whiny, and I mean his mom did just die.
True, yeah.
All right, so they all meet up though. They all get inside of the fallacy in their many different ways, and they all meet up in the middle, and including Snow actually meets up with Hope and Vanilla. Snow can't, or Hope like it freezes up and can't really tell Snow.
Right, he can't confront his anger with
what's
him.
on his mind, so he just tells Vanille everything that's wrong with him, and then nothing happens.
Yeah, it's really angsty.
They all meet up in the middle, and they find Sarah there lying on the ground. Snow picks her up. Lightning's there too. She really fucking hates Snow. And Sarah goes, "Save Cocoon," and then she closes her eyes, and then she turns into Crystal. And Lightning blames it on Snow. Whatever. They fight over it, and then they decide to confront the fallacy itself within this this facility.
Yeah.
Yeah. And shit goes down. And they see a vision of Ragnarok. The fallacy dies, I guess, and it falls to the ground, and it falls into Lake Brasha, which turns into Crystal, and so they're all just like spread out across this crystal place.
Yeah, and this is like in the outer rim of Cocoon, something like that. So there's like the inner planet, and then
I feel like I need to see a map of Cocoon to understand what that means.
I still don't understand
because
it.
let me tell you something about the beginning of this thing, and the reason why there's so much confusion. Well, one of the reasons why there's so much confusion about this game, and kind of why we had to go back and like write down everything as far as what happens in the game, is that the game does not wait to. It actually does tons of explaining.
Yeah.
But it never gives you context.
No, it just talks about it, yeah.
Until chapter 11 in the game, there is no wide shot. Like, there is no shot of Cocoon and Pulse.
Yeah, it's true.
There's no thing that says this is Cocoon and this is Pulse.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that. And then when people are talking about Pulse fallacy and Cocoon fallacy, it's like, what the... and we're seeing fallacy, but they're all kind of different things. You're like, what the fuck is a fallacy?
Yeah.
You know? And it just turns out they're just like another type of being. So that apparently sees humans as pets.
Yeah, they're that planet's demigods, so to speak, or that portion of this planet, or whatever the hell.
We could call it like that, but the game... It doesn't fail to explain those things. It just like you gotta be listening, and you gotta be paying attention as the shit is going, because the game is extremely it's telling everything really fast, and then there's this plot that goes with it, that goes with all this explanation, and it's rough. Yeah, the thing with no context with the Pulse. I think just one wide shot at the beginning of the game with Pulse and then Cocoon, like
and then he kind of zooms into Cocoon.
That would have gone. Oh, okay, ba-ding. That's what those are.
I know where we are. Instead of being
like Pulse, Cocoon. I could see why many people get confused with this story. I mean, me and you just have trouble remembering, but I know a lot of people are like, what the fuck happened? Like, in Final Fantasy XIII,
a lot of people do say it's really, it's a very confusing story.
And it's not that it never explains anything and that you have to like look it up in the data logs. You don't have to. It is explained.
Yeah.
But
it's just better once you get the context.
It's just not very clear, and there's no context for the
once you see what they were talking about an hour ago, then you go into the data log.
So like playing the game the second time, much easier to understand the game.
Oh yeah, no confusion with the Lassie and the Fal'Cie. Except for their names, occasionally I'll mix up which ones.
So they get down to Lake Brasha, and they all find out that they were Lassie.
Yeah,
that they have been turned into Lassie.
After they fought the one, they got turned. Yeah.
He's like, okay, fine.
Well, fuck you guys. Good luck. I'm dead. I'm out. But
So they turn into Lassie, and then they all realize that they had the same vision. The vision being that there's a vision of Ragnarok destroying Cocoon.
Right.
And they're not really sure what that means. Though Snow thinks that they should save Cocoon, like Sarah said, But the others think, and they are totally right, that they need to destroy it in order to fulfill their new focus.
Yeah,
since they are now Lassie.
Snow is conveniently not paying attention to his very obscure vision he had. That didn't look like saving. I don't care what Sarah says.
Now, how have we said what happens to Lassie that don't fulfill their focus? No.
They turn into Seath, which are disgusting
they're
creatures.
Fiends, yeah.
They are essentially fiends. They just turn into these morphed, messed up things and are just envious of everybody. They're hateful.
And if they fulfill their focus like Sarah did, they turn into Crystal. And they figure that Sarah's focus was to bring them all together.
Yeah, which it obviously was, because that's when she changed.
So, because the others think that they should destroy it, they decide to just move on from the lake. But Snow stays behind after they find Sarah's crystal body within the crystal lake.
Yeah, it kind of dropped her down there with him.
And he kind of wants to stay with her, and he starts trying to dig her out. But the others, of course, move on. They're now fugitives, and they're looking for air transport. Now we cut back to Snow, and he gets attacked by the Psycom, but the Eidolon shows up.
Yeah, the scissor.
And stops them. So explain to us what happens with the Eidolons.
All right, so essentially the summons in this game are all granted to the Lassie, the servants of the Fal'Cie, and when they, basically in their time of need, they'll show up and save them, but then it's the Lassie's job to fulfill, the requirements to have this beast, this monster, fight along their side. So with Snow's, essentially you just have to survive Shiva's onslaught and just go Sentinel mode, and it kind of focuses on each character's main job. So Snow being his best role being Sentinel in the game, it's, you just have to survive till a certain point, and then you get to claim Shiva as your own, get this awesome scissor animation, and ride her around like a motorcycle.
Scissor Shiva.
Yeah, if you've never played it, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but they turn into like mobile versions of themselves. This Shiva by Snow, she turns into a motorcycle. There's one that turns into a car. Alexander is like this giant floating castle. They're kind of cool, but
there's one that turns into a horse.
Yes, Odin turns into a horse. Yeah. So yeah, that's their function. They're just to help you, I guess, to keep you in line, so to speak.
And after Snow and his Eidolons stop the Psycom, Snow is picked up by a special Lassie group fronted by Fang.
Yeah.
So that's the first time we meet Fang, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Now, meanwhile, the other group, Lightning and all the others, they're shot down. And Lightning wants to... They're shot down and put into another place that they have to just get through. Lightning wants to fight Eden to stop the injustice, and Hope goes with her, while Saz and Vanilla are unsure of what to do. So, Lightning's way of destroying, Cocoon, I guess, would be to destroy Eden, which is the sanctuary of the Sanctum, I believe. Mm-hmm. Lots of terms here. All right. Meanwhile, Snow is taken to Sid, who tells him he'll be executed, and then it just cuts.
Yeah,
just cuts away from that. So the other group then decides on the way down to Palampolum to get to Eden and stop by Hope's house. This is Lightning and Hope. Now, this is kind of a section of the game. Everybody's split off in different areas, and you just kind of have to walk to wherever they're going.
Yeah.
Lightning and Snow decide to go, or Lightning and Hope decide to go to Palampolum, which is how they're going to get to Eden. And Palampolum is where Hope's father lives.
Right, and old mother before, she died.
But they kind of have to walk through these different areas to get there, and that's where you do a lot of leveling up.
Right.
While the other group, Fang and Vanilla, they stop by an amusement park because they have no idea what they're going to do.
Fang, don't you mean
Vanilla
Saz.
and Saz, sorry. Now, at this amusement park that Vanilla and Saz are at, Saz reveals that his son, Dodge, was turned into a Lassie by Pulse invaders, and that they gave Dodge the ability to sense Pulse Lassie, and the government took his son away from him because they found that focus would be that focus and that ability would be very useful.
Right. So they're basically using him to locate these fugitives, and that's how they that's how they come across those two.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that.
Just betrayal.
But after Saz tells the story, we realize, though, and Vanilla realizes that it was in fact her and Fang which turned Dodge.
Yeah, they broke into the area that Dodge was in, and it's their fault. That
it's their fault, and Vanilla stays silent about it. So yeah, what happens next, Schweiss?
So I'm glad you asked that.
Okay.
We get that awesome scene, probably the most powerful scene in the game, where she finally just accepts the fact that it's her and Fang's fault, and he's pissed, man. He's like super mad at her. The super hot chick, what is her name?
I can't.
With the tie.
I can't remember her name.
With the tie.
You got it written somewhere. Is it Jill?
Jill.
Yeah.
So Jill meets up with them, and Vanille like runs off, and Saz is super mad because she just barely revealed that it was her fault that his son got changed, and Jill is like, all right, well, go deal with him, or go deal with her, and then he runs up this tower, and he's gonna shoot her because it's her fault that his son got changed, and his son fulfilled his focus, which was to bring those two together. Is that what it was?
No, I think it was just so that Jill found him or something like that.
Oh, some crappy purpose. But he turns into a crystal, so Saz is pissed because they don't know that.
I think it was just to find his dad. I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's what it was. To find his
focus.
dad. Yeah, because they were going to capture his dad.
What the fuck?
I don't know. It seems like a menial task.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think there's a plot hole right there.
Yeah, you think so?
Because I think that Dodge finding his father for the people, but how would whatever.
Yeah, it's weird.
Nah, whatever.
But so he gets the opportunity to go kill Vanille, and Jill is like, yeah, go deal with her.
Yeah, Jill's like,
you're like, well, I was gonna kill her anyway.
Well,
but
I'm gonna kill her anyway, but instead I'll be just kind of morbidly sadistic and just let you kill her.
Yeah, with her tiny little breast tie, and
oh man, the breast tie.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So he goes up into this building and meets up with her, and is like, he's mad. He's gonna shoot her. He's telling her that he wants to kill her, and he's pointing his gun at her, and then he's like, well, killing you won't bring back my son. And then he points the gun at himself, and we get like a really dark scene with a flash of lightning, and then his shadow, and then just a gunshot, and then it just cuts. The first time I played the game, I was like, what the
Jesus?
I was like, man, he killed himself. It's freaking game over. But
someone actually does get shot in this game and killed with one shot, and it's pretty good. Like, it's a pretty good scene.
Is it pretty good?
But it's not that scene.
No, it is not that scene. Man. What happens after that?
I don't know. I think it just cuts to the other group, doesn't it?
I don't know. I think that was something that you did on another thing.
No, I don't think it was. They move to capture. The rest of the group hears of the capture. What is this? Sid's cavalry charge. Yeah. You're missing all that. Schweiss took notes, but I couldn't remember
I took
what
notes, but you jumped ahead of yours is the thing.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I ended mine.
We didn't talk about Yag Rosh or any of that shit.
No, because they're not there yet. It was just Vanille realizing that it was her and Fang that did dodge in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were just walking around. Now, the other group is doing their own thing.
You confused me because you...
No, sorry. It goes back and forth the whole time. Sorry about that.
Fuck that.
I didn't do anything wrong.
All right, so, essentially after the supposed suicide scene, the rest of the group hears about the fact that they got captured because, and then it's weird because Saz is pulled down and he's in this, like, crate thing. Remember that? Where he looks like he's dead? They've got him, like, in a coffin. So I was like, what is this? He is dead. And then later they reveal that, he's fine. I was like, what the fuck? So the rest of the party hears about them getting captured and moves in to rescue them.
Now, before all the Fang stuff that we got mixed up on, they do actually make it to Hope's house, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and they talk about the mother, and there's like a really long scene where they're just apologizing about stuff, and this part was pretty cool. I thought it was awesome when there's like this huge fight scene. There's all these lights on the house, and they finally catch up with the fugitives, and it's Hope still blames Snow, super mad at him, and Psycom ends up finding him, and this guy named Yag Rosh, who's the leader of one of the leaders of Psycom. He's not okay with them being alive and wants to kill them to keep the fear and law and order in place that they have over the citizens of Cocoon, which, of course, anything that comes into contact with anything from Pulse, they want to kill or throw back to Pulse, and they don't want that to be upset by these Fal'Cie, or these l'Cie, Jesus. These l'Cie, what the fuck would you do? Two words that are both made up that are the same thing, almost. Anyway, that these l'Cie are still normal people, because that's not the image they want to paint, so they're going to kill them, essentially. And there's a really brutal boss battle that...
Jeez, dude.
That Joe guy was like convinced I was going to die over and over on.
Shut the fuck up, dude. That guy was so rough. So rough.
He did almost kill me multiple times.
Fast as fuck, and I was underleveled.
Yeah, if you don't have a sentinel and a medic, you're done. But it's a rough fight, and then Sid Raines, who, as we know, was with Snow when he was captured, he comes to the rescue. His cavalry comes and saves him, and we cut from there, and then we go back to Saz and Vanille. And the scene I just explained. So the order's a little messed up, but it keeps jumping back and forth with the plot line. So it is pretty...
It intercuts. It's fine.
It is, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, after the whole death scene, quote unquote, they
Sid's with the rest of them. I think they decide to go after Bartandalis.
Yeah, they see Bartandalis and he's spewing his BS on TV, and they're not okay with that. So they're going to go rescue... the captured ones, the Saz and the Vanille.
No, I think they already got them. Didn't they?
No, this is when they were going to go.
Oh, sorry.
This is the rescue. And they are going to kill Bartandalis, or Barty as I call him, in the process because he's in the neighborhood. So they escape and reunite. We see Mecha Owl, as I call him, and the little owl beast that's Bartandalis' buddy. And
you've seen him a couple times though, like he just
he's just kind of randomly there. Yeah, he's like some weird crow.
And the cutscenes are like, hey, look at this, look at this.
Yeah. It is. It's very foreboding. But so yeah, you get to Barty and Jill with her immaculate mini tie.
Oh, she's so hot. Jill is the hottest woman
ever.
CG character.
The hottest non-real woman in the world.
In this game, at the very least. Whew.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome.
Jesus.
But, yeah, she gets killed by Bartandalis, who everyone thinks is just a normal dude, because this is what, there's no reason to not think that. And suddenly he's just spawning pain, probably, everywhere, and just killing everyone in the room. And the Mecha Owl comes down and helps him transform into the wall of faces that we know him as.
Well, they think he's a l'Cie, but he turns out to be a Fal'Cie.
Yeah, they think he's just another l'Cie with an objective, and he's got magic, because they have magic.
Yeah,
and
that's a l'Cie thing.
Yeah.
That's given to the l'Cies. We failed to mention that.
Right, yeah, we forgot about the magic. You get the ability of magic when you get transformed. And he basically explains the end of the game right here. He tells you that
your focus is to kill Orphan to bring about the Maker.
Yeah. So the Maker is essentially Uber God, or the only God in this universe that created humans, Fal'Cie,
and the world,
l'Cie, blah, 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 everything. And they want to use Orphan as a sacrifice to bring the Maker back so that the Maker can create a better world instead of the shithole that they currently have.
For the Fal'Cie, not so much for the humans.
Yeah, for the Fal'Cie. The humans are just pets, like we mentioned. They're nothing. So, yeah, he tells you what you're going to do at this point in the game, and it seems super evil coming from him and his old man baritone.
Because you want to think that you want to be with Snow and be like, let's save Cocoon.
Yeah.
But no.
But Snow's an idiot. So he transforms his mecha owl into this airship, and they leave, and Sarah's full of it, and everyone comes together. And this is where they find Sid. They land the ship, and it goes into some like underground area. You explore a little bit, and then you find...
It's not... Is it Sid?
No, it's
not
Daisley.
Sid. Daisley.
You do run
Rains.
into...
No, fuck.
Rains is Sid.
Rains is Sid, yeah, because Sid Rains.
Anyway, yeah.
Sorry.
Wants to summon the Maker to restore peace. Sid. It is Sid.
Yeah.
Who you find down in the basement. And now this was a really tough boss fight for me fighting this guy. And I know you killed him like first try when you got there because it was during our 13 hours of 13 thing.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, I didn't feel for him at all because he was a pain in my ass. But essentially, he chose to fight his focus. So he starts turning into a Seath, gets destroyed by the party, and then becomes a crystal, but then like disappears randomly. It's super weird.
He's supposed to help them destroy Cocoon, and he decides against that, so he tries to stop the party, so they fight him exactly in what she said.
Yeah.
So
and
just wanted to make that a little bit more clear.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So they're pretty inspired by this because they're like, well, yeah, we don't want to destroy Cocoon. It's our home. And so they're like, well, our new focus is to find a way to remove the brand.
And where are we going to find an answer to that? Obviously, we can't do it on Cocoon, so we must go down to Pulse.
Yep.
This is kind of contrived, but they do go down to Pulse.
It is. It's kind of just a way to jump the story forward. Mm-hmm. So they're flying down to Pulse. There's like an amazing scene where the ship gets dominated by some creature and a bunch of them fall out, and it's like, oh, it's super intense.
Doing some skydiving.
Yeah, a little bit of skydiving. Nothing they can't handle. And it's revealed that, Fang and Vanille have had this BS story of like not knowing what's happening. They can't remember what they've done, where they've been, anything like that. And Fang basically says that she never lost her memory here and that she remembers being the last Ragnarok. Meant to kill.
So is this like a cyclical thing? I know it happened, I guess, once before, but... just the Fal'Cie just gets fed up and then like bring down another Ragnarok.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's press the reset button on this place. Is that what they do?
I think they just get sick of it. Yeah, they're like, yeah, it's going too well. So and then here we also learn about Vanille accidentally turning Sarah into a Lassie back on Bodom, which is the town that the Fal'Cie snuck up on and kind of tainted Sarah and turned her into it, which then led to the Purge because everyone was there. It was Dodge, Saz, Snow, everybody. Mm-hmm. And so it's revealed that it's her fault again. And
it's all Vanille's fault.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And then they kind of work their way up to this tower. It's like Tajin's Tower or something like that. And
they're just making their way through Pulse.
They're basically just walking around and trying to find a way to get the brands off, which really it's not going to happen. But so they kill the bead-like Fal'Cie creature in this tower.
Oh God.
Yeah, I call him the anal bead Fal'Cie.
Oh jeez, that's too perfect a name for how that Fal'Cie looks. That's what's unfortunate.
It really is. So they kill him, and that gives them hope. They're like, well, shit, we can kill these things. Mm-hmm. So let's kill it and not have to destroy Cocoon.
Somehow.
Yeah, somehow.
Even though killing Orphan automatically kills Cocoon.
Yes.
Because Orphan, runs Cocoon.
But we're going to kill it, and it's not going to destroy Cocoon. That's their idea now.
What?
So, you go down, after this, you go down to Vanille and Fang's old hometown. Mm-hmm. And it's just a wreck. Like, they see it over the ledge of the tower.
I think they expected it. Well, no. One of them expected it to be dead, and the other one didn't, or something.
Yeah, I think Vanille was super surprised.
Yeah.
But it's a little village, and you meet up with this awesome little robot guy that gives you the platinum trophy. And
only if you did a shitload of other stuff.
Only if you did a shitload of other stuff, yes. And let's see. Oh, this is where
when Sarah comes out of the blue.
Yeah, when suddenly there's Sarah on this destroyed freeway.
So obviously they didn't figure out a way to remove their brand.
Yeah, they didn't figure anything out, and suddenly it's Bartandalis after Sarah calls her sister Claire.
Sarah turns turns into Sarah,
and then turns back into Barty. Yeah, and then he reveals.
Sarah's like trying to. Bartandalis is like trying to say, "Hey, you must destroy Cocoon."
Yeah, he's using Sarah's image to try to prompt them to do what they're going to end up doing.
Hey, dumbasses!
Yeah, you have to do this.
Destroy Cocoon. Like I said.
Yeah, multiple times. Multiple times this guy has told you exactly how the game ends and what you need to do. And it's here that he reveals that he wants Civil War, and he actually has Sid as the new head of the area. And
nice. Yeah, because he decides to step down and he wants to start a civil war to destroy Orphan anyway.
Right.
I guess. But, he lets you come up. He's like, hey, get on my ship.
Yeah, he turns his bird into another ship, and
they get on the ship.
Yeah.
And they make their way back up to Cocoon.
Yep, and once you get there, all hell has truly broken loose.
So Sid is it Sid?
Yeah, it's Sid.
But Sid died.
Ah, fuck. Who was it then?
Yeah, whatever. The other
guy.
The other guy. Anyway, Sid is now, I guess, in charge. Bartandalis makes the other guy, makes all these creatures come out. And all hell's breaking loose. They don't like the new ruler. This other faction of the army, and so there's a civil war basically that happens. So in this awesome scene where the one guy shoots Sid.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
He begs for mercy via death basically, and they kill him. So it's also revealed slightly before that Fang is, she was Ragnarok in the past, and she was actually sleeping in crystal form until the next chance came up that she could become Ragnarok, and then they were released. And apparently Daisley was watching them sleep for 100 years or something like that since the last giant war. I'm surprised it's not 1,000, honestly.
Yeah, because everything in Final Fantasy is 1,000 years.
Yeah, it tends to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the SciComm leader Rosh blames the party for the invasion of the pulse creatures that are basically the Adamantoids just rampaging around the city, and all the anarchy. He's basically saying, "Oh, it's all you guys' fault." He tries to stop you, and you fight him, and there's blood coming off of his forehead, which is weird for Final Fantasy. And in his last moments, he accepts the fact that they're wrong and basically calls off the attack and evacuates Cocoon, because he knows that the game is going to end just like Bartandalis has been saying it will. So now we enter Orphan's Cradle, which is the really weird space-time continuum looking tube thing leading into Orphan.
The White Room.
Yeah. In a white room.
Well, it gets to the White Room.
Yeah, eventually. So you get to the cradle, Orphan's Cradle, and the cavalry were sent in there beforehand, and they're all turned into Seath, so they're screwed. And it's an awesome place to level up, honestly. On those guys, on your former friends, just slaughter them by the dozen, and you get to Bartandalis yet again, who is right before the Orphan fight, and he's basically telling you have to destroy Orphan.
Yep.
You destroy Bartandalis, he fuses with Orphan, and then you destroy Orphan.
I don't know why he fuses with Orphan.
I'm not sure, yeah. He just joins him. He just wants out.
It just happens.
He's tired of losing is probably it. He's a sore loser. So Fang becomes Ragnarok as she was supposed to, but fails again. destroying Orphan as Ragnarok. Orphan's like, God damn it, why can't you do this one thing that I've asked you to do multiple times? And they're like, well, we're just going to kill you anyway. And then they do. And after you kill Orphan, of course, Cocoon starts falling from the sky because its life force is dead. And Vanille and Fang both go Ragnarok
Gravity
mode.
gets all weird. I remember that.
Yeah, and it looks really cool. It's an awesome ending cutscene. So Vanille and Fang go Ragnarok mode. They double down on the rag, and they catch Cocoon, and basically the whole vision of Ragnarok is relived right there. There's the spires coming out that are crystal, and they just catch Cocoon midair, and it just sits there. And then they turn into crystal. Everyone turns into crystal because they completed their focus, and
Just somehow are thawed.
Except for Fang and Vanille, and they meet up with Sarah and Dodge, and everyone's fine.
So they, Yavrosh, luckily, decided to start evacuating Cocoon.
Yeah,
So
old Rosh.
the people of Cocoon have been saved. Cocoon itself has been destroyed.
Right, so in a way, actually most of the way, they did end up fulfilling it completely by destroying Cocoon, but they were taking that to mean destroy Cocoon and all of its inhabitants, when really it was just destroy Cocoon by killing Orphan. So
the maker didn't come and make a new world.
nope, it's still the same old shitty world.
Bartandalis was just telling the truth the whole time. Was like, hey guys, kill it. No, here's my ship. You can take it and...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll help you
Yeah.
kill it. I am there for you. Which I thought was really interesting because he seems super evil. And he is pretty evil. He just kills people willy-nilly. But he is a god, and we are his pets to do with as he pleases, so I guess whatever. There's no PETA in this world, or PETA, whatever it is. And
that sounds really,
some people say
really
PETA.
weird.
I know, it does sound weird.
I was like, what are you
Although
talking
he was
about?
with those kids sleeping for a long time, old
my
Fang
God.
and Vanille. Or Vanilla, as you love to refer to her as.
Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, so I don't know. Bad guy that you think is bad guy, not really that bad. I mean, he is pretty messed up. He does willy-nilly kill people, but he's telling you exactly what you need to do.
He's just kind of a guy to like bring about a boss fight every once in a while.
You think so?
Yeah.
Just a fun, multi-faced boss fight
Yeah.
with his little choir. His heads are like singing. So
I think the real antagonist of the game is probably Sid.
yeah.
Probably. Yeah, he's the super evil guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got Sid mixed up with someone else. Still.
Yeah, no, yeah, whoever the dude is. But, yeah, and I don't know, man. It's kind of weird to have that sort of a bad guy. I don't know if it's a ton of depth to him or if it's just using him to get to
not Sid, Daisley.
point A to point B.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got Sid mixed up with Daisley.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, Daisley's the one that...
Jesus. All the side characters that only get like 5 minutes of screen time. I'm sorry.
So Daisley's the one that gets destroyed down below then. He's the one that turns into the crystal.
No, I think that's Sid.
Is it?
Right?
I don't fucking remember. One of those guys is super evil. And, yeah.
So what'd you think?
Well, obviously it wasn't super memorable because we had to step aside for a little while and refresh on everything that happened. I mean, the one thing I will say though is it was a lot more. There was a lot more character development. I felt like they actually changed throughout the story, like Hope's hatred of Snow and then his acceptance. I thought that was cool. Lightning's going from a complete freaking jerk to, becoming a little more nurturing and like, all right, let's be the leader that this party needs, kind of a thing. Vanille finally starts not lying to everybody. I don't know. I don't think Saz really grows that much.
No,
He's just kind of there. Like, not that his character is bad or anything. He's kind of funny, but not a whole lot of growth from him. Fang, kind of felt the same way. And then Snow knew exactly what he wanted to do the whole time. So there is, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was kind of a hodgepodge with the character development, and
It's true. There was some. I've heard people talk about how kind of like in FF6, there's no real main character, but there was a real main character in FF6. So
Yeah.
I hate hearing that one, despite what the developers wanted.
yeah, it doesn't matter what they want.
I guess maybe Vanille.
Well, Vanille was. I think Vanille was supposed to be the initial main character. I remember reading something about that, which is why she's narrating.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
She's narrating, and the plot kind of revolves around her.
Yeah, I didn't see jack about that when I was writing up the thing, but yeah, it is. She is kind of the main character.
Yeah, fuck Lightning. She's not the main character. Yeah. They're all the main characters, I guess.
Yeah, there's a. Yeah,
Sorry,
it's a cast
Vanille's the protagonist.
Yes.
They are all main characters.
Yes, there is a difference. Not always, but
There is a difference.
not actually. Most of the time, there isn't.
Most of the time, they are the same thing.
Yes, but with 10 and probably 13, I'd say they're not really the same thing. I don't know. How did you feel about it overall?
The story?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think... Well... I don't know. It's kind of... It has its moments. Like, there's some dramatic moments, like the suicide scene or the scene where the ruler is shot.
Yeah, it was Sid, right?
Yeah, I think it was Sid.
Okay, that's what I
Or
thought.
not Sid. I think it was Daisley.
The one that got shot?
Yeah.
Oh, so Sid was the one that went down in the... Yeah, he was
I
the guy
think
that
so.
turned into a crystal.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm trying to remember who the long-haired dude is, but I can't remember his name. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus.
Anyway, sorry. When we were saying Sid, who turned into the thing, it was Sid. It wasn't Daisley.
It was Daisley who got shot.
Daisley got shot.
Yeah, he was the ruler.
Yeah, I fucked up. Anyway, obviously it's very, very complex. There's a lot of characters, and they don't get much screen time.
Yeah.
This was something I was complaining about in earlier weeks when I was saying, we never get the FF10 kind of moments with certain characters. So we don't really care all that much or really know what they're all about. The story-heavy section of the game is an extremely fast-paced, linear section of the game.
Right.
And it's one of the biggest complaints about this game is its linearity. And the fact is, it's only linear to a point. It's linear halfway, and then the other half is like whatever the fuck you want to do. You can do.
That's true.
I mean, so it is hard to follow because they don't give any context. The characters' emotions don't always play. Like, there's a whole bunch of really emotional, a lot of piano and violin music that just kind of, to me, it fell a little flat.
Yeah, just kind of throw it in there.
I didn't know the characters all that well. I mean, they start with those scenes right off the bat. And now you were talking about a pattern earlier.
Yeah.
As far as what pattern I noticed with each, with a whole bunch of Final Fantasy XIII stuff, a bunch of scenes with Final Fantasy XIII. Mm-hmm. The pattern is this: one character reveals something, and then they kind of like talk about their situation or whatever. And then one character will turn his or her head, the other way, away from the other character. And then we'll get like an over-the-shoulder shot where the character is looking this way. The other character is on the other side, looking the other way. And then he's like, they're tearing up or they're saying, I couldn't save her or some bullshit, like whatever that was. And then as soon as they do that turnaround and they say their like big statement about, whatever.
Yeah.
That's when the piano music would go bling ding. And it happened so many times.
I do remember seeing that. I was like, geez.
What there shouldn't be a pattern to these scenes. They were when all the characters were split off. That's when it kept happening over and over again. Someone would have some kind of reveal, someone would turn around and then say some big statement or have some emotional moment there. Mm-hmm. And it was directed the same way every single time.
Yeah, well, and I don't know, there was a lot of, with the story, there was a lot of walk a little bit and then get like a few minutes of cutscene, walk a little bit and then get some cutscene, like, which is not a big deal, but it's kind of weird almost.
It is mind-numbing.
It kind of is, yeah, and like, I like to be rewarded with a good cutscene. That's the Final Fantasy that I remember, is you do something awesome, you get a good cutscene.
It's new. Now, 10 had a little bit of this, but even then it was more spread out than this is.
Yeah, and I was more attached to 10. By far,
yeah.
As far as the story, I can remember 10.
10 took its time. Now I've heard the sequels to Final Fantasy XIII explore more character development and explore the world a little bit more. And I guess 13.2 is supposed to be awesome.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing.
But this game by itself, I think the story. I think they needed to take a little bit more time with it. I don't think it needed to be this rushed hallway of cutscenes.
Yeah.
I think that because of that, the story feels more bogged down than I guess it is. And then another thing that bugs me about the story is that Bartandalis' character motivation is not... It doesn't match his actions or his attitude or his...
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. And then there's a little... like plot holes, like the dodge thing, just like your thing was to find your father, but your father was with you when you were
Yeah, your father was with you when you became one.
Yeah,
initially.
so your focus was to do this exact thing. Your focus was to, when your father becomes a lessee,
bring him
the what?
Tiny Thai chick.
What the what?
Yeah, that's true. It's almost I don't know, it's almost like just a way to move the story forward in like a cheap shot kind of thing, like almost like it's
contrived.
The thing we bitched about with 10 when what was it? They rode it was when they went to the wedding scene, and we just bitched about how they like rode the rope down. You're like, that's bullshit. That's just a way to advance the story quickly without making any sense as to how they got there. They just rode the little thing down. And I'm like, that kind of...
I don't remember having that complaint about it, but the dodge thing does bug me. Now, there are great moments in the story, however. I think one of the best moments is like it's a flashback scene where and Snow and Sarah are together. And it's the fireworks and everything like that.
Yeah,
that's
the fireworks
gorgeous scene.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And then the ending section of this thing is, even though it may be like, by the time you get there, you're like, what's going on? Like, it's really cool stuff, though. Like, Orphan and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had its moments, but...
It does have its moments.
I don't know.
The story is not the greatest. I don't think it's the worst. That's for FF1, FF2, and FF11.
Yeah.
Just in their storytelling. I mean, 13 does try. It tries really hard.
Yeah, it's like too hard.
It tries really hard. But it kind of comes out like a soap opera.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. And,
not too big of a fan of that?
I like certain characters. I actually kind of like all the characters.
Yeah. There's not a character that I just really love, though. I'm not like, oh, dude, they have to be in the party. I don't care how useless they are. They're in the party.
Yeah.
I've felt that about other characters throughout the series. I'm like, gotta have Barrett. Like, I don't care about Vincent. I'm gonna have Barrett, and I'm gonna have Tifa.
No, I get you.
But I don't know. Yeah, it was kind of like, well, who's more useful right now? I was like, all right, well, let's throw them in, whatever.
Yeah. But I think it's this kind of really dense, bogged down, linear hallway of a story that makes people stop playing this game.
Yeah, that was part of why I stopped.
Now, FF13 is an extremely hated game on the internet, especially. And the reason for it is because of that, the first, 4/5 of the story is it's so linear.
Yeah, it was about 20 hours.
Yeah, you
half.
have nothing to do but watch cutscenes and walk a little ways. You're right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people stop there. They don't play on Pulse for very long.
Pulse is the fun part.
Yeah. So that's the unfortunate thing with the story. Once again, it has good moments. The fake shooting, like the suicide scene, is really powerful, I think. And the The actual shooting scene is really powerful.
Yeah, that's true. That is like one of the few times someone actually just dies from a shot.
They just die from a gunshot, which is odd because everybody else is getting like, whenever you fight the army,
peppered.
they're like, and like nothing happens. Of course, but then the one guy gets one bullet, and it's just like, oh.
He's not a Lassie though, so.
No, yeah, I don't know.
It gives you magic abilities, but they don't say anything about being bulletproof. So
that's true.
Yeah. Unless like flak jacket is a spell, I don't know. Could be.
So other things having to do with the story and the storytelling, the cutscenes were they were pretty well directed, I think. I only ever got like confused as to what was going on during like the big ceremony with like the on the road or whatever, on the roadway. You know what I'm talking about? And they come down from.
Oh yeah, like what's happening?
Yeah, it's like there's so much shit going on.
There's like a racing event or something.
It's almost like Advent Children in the way that it's like, oh god, there's so fucking much stuff going on.
That was a cool scene.
I can't tell what's going on. Pretty much anytime they're in a flying vehicle, I can't tell what's going on.
It's just anarchy.
Yeah, it's just like it's chaos. Other than that, actually, because I think on the show before I said it was a super confusingly directed thing, was this FF13's cutscenes.
Yeah.
Those parts are. Other than that, I think it was directed okay. Except for the fucking melodramatic soap opera scenes with the turnaround and the piano music playing. Yeah,
those were mechanical.
Repetitive. Jesus.
Yeah.
That's an issue.
It is. I mean, you can't really. I don't know. It's almost like it almost throws you out of the moment. Mm-hmm. Like you can't really take it that seriously because the music kicked in. It's not like when, Titus finds out that Yuna is. And I know you're not supposed to compare, but when he finds out that Yuna is going to die and everybody knows, like that's powerful when that happens. When the music kicks in there, it works because it kicked in that time and maybe a couple other times throughout the game. Not like 10 minutes ago when someone else revealed, oh yeah, by the way, I have, chlamydia. And then Vanille's like, oh no. Yeah. It's not weird like that. I don't know.
Silence is golden. Sometimes silence can make a scene more powerful.
Yeah, it's true. So I don't know.
I
think overall, not the greatest story.
I think it was shaky. I don't think
it had its holes. Not like it wasn't like 8 style plot.
I was still totally watching it though. Like I wasn't like, oh fuck this shit.
Yeah, you didn't feel like you needed to disengage. Yeah, I suppose it carried me along for the ride. I didn't have a moment where I just kind of zoned. I just zoned after 60, 70 hours of side missions, and I was like, okay, what happened for the first 10 hours? I have no idea. I remember Mecha Owl and Barty and his choir, and that's about all. Yeah, Barty and choir in town this Saturday.
That's good.
Yeah, should make some posters up for it.
Another thing to do with the storytelling, and I think the last thing here. What do you think of the voice acting for the?
I think it's pretty good for the most part.
Yeah,
I don't think it's quite as solid as. I don't know. I used to really get peeved by the 13 voice acting, but this time around, I don't really see any problems with it. It doesn't feel quite as natural as 12's. Per se, but I think it's pretty solid. The voices match the characters. There's not very many crazy over the top moments that I feel like smacking my forehead, except for the one time that Vanille is like "ciao" and just runs off.
Ciao.
I'm like, oh my god,
why am I watching this?
Yeah, why am I playing this? Like that's one of the ones where my friends would come in and they'd be like, "What the fuck are you? What is that?" You're like, "Don't worry about it. It's good, okay." It's one of those, but there weren't very many of those, and I don't know. I feel like they did a decent job with it this time.
I think the voice actors are really good. I don't know. Because sometimes there were some awkward moments, but there always are, except in like FF12. I don't remember any.
Yeah,
so it's weird. Like somehow FF12 was just better at
making people talk,
allowing the voice acting to be part of the game. I don't know. Maybe there's just so many cutscenes in FF13.
Yeah, maybe there's more time for weird little things.
I have no fucking idea. But it's certainly It's better than 10's in terms of like how the timing kind of works.
Yeah.
I know that was a hardware issue with 10.
No, yeah, it was.
And but it's not as good as 12's voice acting.
Yeah.
Sound design is better though. It's not as compressed.
Yeah, 12's
for anybody who's noticed that.
Yeah, well, if you listen to it, you can tell.
Compressed FF12's sound is.
It's like it just sounds weird.
Yeah, it sounds like Joe mixed it. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Leading man.
It sounds like they're in like a cave.
Yeah, it does. And I don't know why. Like, what do they...
I don't fucking know, dude. It's the same people in charge of the voice acting in 12.
Space? What did they get? Megadeth to mix the thing? Like, just...
I don't know.
Let's make it sound worse.
Let's make it sound as
or not
loud,
Megadeth, Metallica.
As loud as possible. Rick Rubin.
Yeah, Rick Rubin. Yeah. Freaking douche. But, guy was great back in the day, but... Yeah, I don't know. I would give it a solid rating for voice acting though. None of them were just horrible.
I would too.
But
honestly, when we were going through the story just then, like 95% of that was in just one section.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. First few chapters.
Because there's one section there that's like, oh, and then there's Pulse, and that's a whole huge section with almost nothing.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of
except
plot.
That they're just going from one place to the next, and you can choose to do extra quests or whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, which that was when the game really hit its stride when it opened up. Wide open.
I think so too. So the story for me is a mixed bag. That's what I'm going to say.
All right. I agree. Mixed bag. Good moments, bad moments, meh moments.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, that was part 1 of our Final Fantasy XIII review in all of its glory.
all of its glory, in quotes. Yeah. The Twitch people know our weakness, unfortunately.
Yeah, you guys only know what we've admitted to, which is not even half of the truth. But next time we're gonna
show off our strengths next time.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna flex it up on this next part. So we're gonna touch base on the gameplay mechanics, go into the music,
design,
the
legacy of the game,
and then
of course we're gonna answer some questions and bring out our rankings. So guys, make sure you check us out on youtube.com/Ultima Final Fantasy, Twitter, follow us at UFF Podcast, Facebook.com/Ultima Final Fantasy, Patreon. Please help us out there. You can enjoy our new website brought to us by our Patreon donors.
Yeah, thanks you guys.
UltimaFinalFantasy.com.
Join the forums there, not .boards.net. Yep. That shit's old.
And you can go to twitch.tv/Ultima Final Fantasy. And next time we're doing a story, we might see us shit all over ourselves and have to redo something, which we used to do all the time. But now that we do everything live, we don't really go back and say, oh, we should do that again.
Yeah, there's not really room for that.
And we had to for this episode.
Which is shameful, but whatever.
Okay. All right, well, twice.
Ooh, I hear that lovely drum.
Oh, Final Fantasy XIV, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 6:30.
Yeah, that's right. And
oh fuck, it was just gonna go. I thought my timing was on.
No.
Brynhilder server.
Brynhilder, yes.
Yeah. Join us.
That's right. I love this song. Enjoy the grind, you guys.
This has been another production of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast. The show was produced by Joseph DeGaulier and Caleb Schweiss, with music and editing by Joseph DeGaulier, parodies and clips from their respective authors, of course. You can get all of our episodes as well as our Let's Plays at ultimafinalfantasy.com. You can also contact us on Twitter at UFF Podcast, as well as our contact page on our website. Be sure to subscribe and review our podcast. Your reviews may get read on the show, and look forward to the next episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast.